All right, y'all. I have a little extra time to do videos now, so might as well. I mean, my work has gotten mind-numbingly easy. It's a great job, not much to do. So, sorry this screen flips around. It's because sometimes I walk when I'm doing these and I'm not even looking at the phone, so I just noticed it was going bonkers there. But this reality really does come up with the lamest reasons to explain itself away. And I was thinking about that when I was just looking at the Mir Mir. The Mir Mir has got some of the lamest excuses for why it is. Let's see if we can just discuss that and see where it goes. And while we're on the subject, let me just say that reality itself has put psychologists here and all their reasons for why we have false memories. It is here because reality just wants to mess with us. Psychologists will go through great lengths to explain why people falsely believe something happened when it did not. And here it's showing the Mona Lisa, which of course we all know is a big change. Your faulty memory. The Wicked Queen in Snow White uses her mirror to get confirmation of her attractiveness by saying, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all?" The reality. The Queen talks to her mirror with a more appropriate title. The full quote is, "Magic mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all?" You know, if you're like, I don't know, 30 and under, you might fall for this. You might buy this BS. But if you're my age and you grew up with Disney and there really wasn't that many choices like there are now for entertainment, especially, kids entertainment. Disney was huge. Everybody saw this movie. Everybody growing up. Everybody knows this is where we got the line, "Mirror, mirror on the wall." You can't tell somebody in my generation, at least from this reality, that it's always been Magic. I don't think I've ever met anybody my age who is like, "Oh yeah, of course, it's always been, that's what I remember, Magic Mirror." Now that I'm saying that, I'm sure reality is going to cough one of those people up for me. Probably within the next week, one of those people is going to exist, or it's going to pop up in comments. But I'm telling you, this is just one of the lamest excuses reality has come up with. And they have 15 different psychological classifications for why our memories are crap. And oh, it's so much fun. Bear in mind, there are books that are put out by Walt Disney, books out there. And none of the books will say Magic Mirror. I don't know if none of them, but many of these books will tell the story and it'll be Mirror Mirror. Many of them will. It's like whoever's editing reality or moving us around, whatever you want to call it, it's not a perfect switch. There's all of this stuff that's left behind, which gets into a whole nother topic of what's going on possibly there. Again, we see more reality trying to defend itself with articles like this and Simply Psychology. What is the Mandela Effect? Examples and explanations, and it says fake news. That all the psychologists are just so important, so intelligent. So this is a quick TikTok that this person was going into her Disney book, and you can see the copyright 1998, Disney Enterprises. So she's flipping through the pages, and she's on this page here. Snow White was too shy to speak to him inside the castle. The queen asked her magic mirror, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all?" So this is a Disney book put out, and that's how Disney. This is what we call residual evidence. This is like the update of reality. The edits that go on did not catch these books and left them for whatever reason. So this is the cover of that book. And this person is saying, so what if it's supposed to be Magic Mirror? Why are the books like that? I guess a David Letterman top 10 list one night was on the Late Show. things that sound cool when spoken by James Earl Jones. And then they go through these like, I can't believe it's not butter, and objects in mirror may be closer than they appear. Now, of course, the Mandela effect on that one is it's the mirror now says are closer. It never said may be closer, which we all remember maybe. And the whole reason I brought up this one is because there's a mirror theme going on with the Mandela effect, which makes me wonder if we are living in a mirrored reality. Is it hinting to us that we live in a mirrored existence? This is a dual reality from wherever we were. Or just maybe there's many of them and this is a mirror. Here's another one with Mir Mir. That was a movie. It was like the more recent movie for Snow White, and it's actually called Mir Mir. So let's get into more of reality's BS explanations. What is the famous line in Snow White? And it says, over the jeweled hills beyond the seventh wall, the cottage of the seven dwarfs swells the snow. That's really, you're going to say that's the most famous line? I mean, that you got to be kidding me. That is not the most famous line in Snow White. Um, Here's what was Mir Mir. Mir Mir is a modern version of the classic fairy tale. Um, that's all they're saying. That's where reality came up with that movie, just to try and throw people off from the change. What is the real Mir saying? Solved. In the animated Disney movie Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, the evil witch says, magic mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all? Most people remember it being Mir Mir. Explanation, it was actually Mir Mir in every other version of this story and in the original German text. So I don't know what other versions they're talking about. Disney, that's the only way we all knew it. Disney dominated the playing field here. There was no other version of the story that I've ever seen other than the Disney's movie representation. And I'm sorry, I've never read the German book. I don't know any kids around me growing up that read the German book, but yet we all know the movie said Mir Mir. So this is one of the lamest excuses that reality has coughed up, in my opinion, just like one of the lamest for why people are all saying it's Mir Mir and it's not. This is what reality wants the world to believe, that we all remember Disney doing it as Mir Mir, and it's all faulty because there are other versions of Snow White out there done by God knows who. I've never seen it. And there's German there's German Snow White books. It doesn't even acknowledge that there's English versions put out by Snow White that are saying Mir Mir. It doesn't acknowledge that. Reality, I'm sorry, but reality sometimes seems pretty stupid to me because, and I say reality because reality as a conscious being itself, or if there's like little minions that are in charge of reality, this is their best way. This is what they come up with. They can't come up with anything better. I think there's something, they would do the little switcheroo and change it completely, but they can't. For some reason, something blocks them. Maybe this is just too strong of a one for them to just erase completely. It's too anchored into us. So the best it can do is come up with the lamest, weakest excuses for what exists, and then try to hire all their psychologist minions, who I swear, if you went into psychology, I'm sorry for you because you're working for the enemy. But this is just the stupid. I mean, I laugh when I read this. It's absolutely stupid. So the whole mirror theme, and there was a Star Trek episode called Mir Mir. Again, Star Trek episode Mir Mir. Gene Roddenberry. He knew of Disney's Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. He knew that this was Mir Mir on the wall. He knew it, and he does his episode. He names it Mirror Mirror. And he's referencing Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, guaranteed. He's not just coming up with the episode name Mir Mir out of his butt. He knows Disney, and he knows the famous line, and he's just, now in this episode, this is kind of a connection here to the Mandela Effect. In this episode, it's all about a transporter issue, and Kirk and Spock end up in a parallel universe which is a mirror of their own personal reality, but everything's flip-flopped around on them, and they're kind of like in an evil world. So their characters are expected to be kind of evil and devious, and I mean, it's just an evil world that they find themselves in, and they're like, and Spock finds he's got this goatee going on, and just like coolest looking Spock ever, right? The uniforms look cooler. Everything about this universe looks cooler, except they're all bad. But one of my favorite episodes growing up was this Mir Mir episode, and it makes you wonder: is the Mandela effect dropping a hint here? Is it dropping a hint that we are living in a mirrored reality? I've heard many people say that this is a mirrored existence to what our original reality is. A lot of people think that we all died at some point, maybe in 2012. Maybe the end of our existence occurred, and this is a reboot because some of us didn't want to let it go, and we somehow ended up in this thing. So let me get back to that mirror thing. Mandela effect objects in the mirror are closer than they appear, and we all remember it being maybe closer. It's another big mirror Mandela effect, the best gag in Steven Spielberg's Jurassic Park. Rearview mirror in the speeding Jeep over the words objects in the mirror may be closer than they appear. Now, the person writing this text or this article is remembering it the way it was, but not how it was in the movie, or this picture just magically changed. We've seen that. We've seen people talking about something, and then the picture will match what they're saying, and then time passes and the picture gets updated, and now the picture is showing what it actually showed in the movie, because that would be, I guess, too big of a that if it was showing that in the movie, that would just be too big for the reality machine. It gets too hard for them to explain. The ludicrousness of this Mandela effect gets too hard for reality to back up, I think. So it's got to give you another one. Now, this one, we've seen Mandela effects with A and E, kind of like Berenstain Bears, Berenstain, the A and the E. So this one guy was saying, this is a hint that we live in a mirrored reality, because you can put A and E in a mirror like this and it looks the same either way. So this guy was talking about Mandela A and E's. Berenstein's not the only one. I've seen multiple Mandela effects, and I'm not going to run through the whole list, but the A and the E does come up quite a bit. Again, I thought that was interesting, that maybe he's onto something with it being a mirror hint. So if you want to watch the episode, here it is, 1967, transport accident places Captain Kirk's landing party in an alternate universe where the Enterprise is in the service of barbarically brutal empire. And it was October 6, 1967. I think it's, season 2, episode 4. So definitely watch that. Tell me what you think. More about mirrors. What does staring at yourself in a mirror mean spiritually? Mirror gazing. Now, this is not the definition of mirror gazing that I had known it to be back in the 90s, because I had done this practice with mirror gazing, and it wasn't looking at yourself in the mirror. That's not how it worked at all. Mirror gazing is a style of meditation that involves maintaining a deep and direct gaze at your reflection in front of a mirror. Practicing this meditation type will observe themselves calmly in the mirror for prolonged periods to erase fear or self-judgment. And so now that's the mirror gazing that I practice goes way back in time, and it does make your body like your spirit starts leaving your body. I experienced that myself. It's crazy. Not saying that you should do it, because I don't know where or what's happening when that happens. To me, it's uncharted territory that might be a little dangerous, so I'm not doing it anymore. I played around with it, and you do go, there is a veil, and you do go to the other side, and you do encounter beings on that other side. This is all legitimately real. What does the Bible say about man who looks at himself in the mirror? So there's verses about it. For anyone who is a hearer of the word and not a doer, he's like a man observing his natural face in a mirror. For he observes himself, goes away, and immediately forgets what kind of man he was. Anything else on mirror? Oh, that's James chapter 1 about the man forgetting what he's like. Here's one that's appropriate. Paul writes in 2 Corinthians, But we all, with unveiled face, beholding as in a mirror the glory of the Lord, is being transformed into the same. No, that's not the one I'm thinking. For if anyone is hear the word and not a doer, he is like a man observing his natural face in a mirror, for he observes himself and goes away. That's James 1 again. This is the one. This is the one I was thinking of. Now we see things imperfectly, like puzzling reflections in a mirror. But then we will see everything with perfect clarity. All that I know now is partial and incomplete, but then I will know everything completely, just as God knows me completely. This verse, I don't know, this is a completely different way of saying that, but I remember the verse being, for now we see in a glass dimly, but then we shall see face to face, But that was the whole mirror thing, is that in this reality, we don't really see what's going on. We've got this block where we can't see why things are happening the way they are, but later on we will see clearly. I've also heard that our life, just this world, this matrix that we live in, is a mirror of ourselves. So life is a mirror. Its reflection shines your image back to you. External conditions mirror internal conditions. So straightening your room settles internal disorder. I've heard that and thought about that much ever since I was first Mandela affected. Like all of this right here around me, all of this crazy stuff, all of the stupid, every little thing hints to something bigger, a deeper meaning, an insight maybe to myself or the way bigger spiritual truths are. So that would be the mirror concept of that. And something I never thought about was, I just came across this. I thought that was interesting. An interesting thought. Perhaps what is most magically mysterious about the mirror is that it's invisible. We can see where it is on the wall, see the frame that holds it, but the mirror shows your face, never its own. We see it everywhere. We are surrounded by its presence. So that's maybe some sort of truth there, that the mirror is invisible. Does the mirror world exist in real life? The new research published by the Physical Review Letters by a team of astrophysicists from the University of New Mexico and the University of California suggests an unseen mirror world, dark sector of new particles that are all copies of known particles that exist along ours interacts. The world is a mirror forever reflecting what you are doing within yourself, was said by Neville Goddard. Oh, another shot of the Star Trek. I didn't know who was in that one, but yeah, I definitely want to watch that again. Check that out. So they beam into a parallel universe from their own. Are we in a mirror universe? We found that the vast majority of universes that resulted are very smooth and flat, and that our small amount of dark energy is favored. Our universe is expected in the mirror universe theory. We no longer need inflation to understand the smoothness and flatness of the universe. I guess I need to dig into that one and see what they're talking about a little further, but that sounds intriguing for sure. What do mirrors mean spiritually? What do they symbolize? Mirrors physically reflect light in our surroundings. Light indicates illumination, consciousness, knowledge, and other spiritual concepts. Mirrors thus reflect truths in terms of spiritual symbolism. They represent reality. This guy with the many worlds theory says an infinite number of universes that would qualify as mirror universes. That doesn't mean if something is possible, it has to exist, but it does mean it has the potential to exist. What is the mirror world theory? It's closely, this was one of the first shots I came across, images. What is the mirror world theory? It's closely related to augmented reality, but a mirror world can be seen as autonomous manifestation of digitalized reality, including virtual elements or other forms in which information is embedded. The term in relation to digital media is coined by Yale University computer scientist David Gillette, whatever his name is. Anyway, this goes back to the simulation theory, and mirror world theory is that, we're a digitalized version of reality. Here's another article, I guess. You spend half of a lifetime's wages on a car and beyond. The window sticker with the fictitious price, the only label on it says objects in Mir may be closer than it appears. Some residual evidence there. And I just watched this fella, Matthew Santoro, because I'm kind of clearing out my watch later list, which had I started with about 800 videos to watch in it. Now I've whittled it down to about 200. So I'm going back a few years. 5 people who discovered they are in a simulation. Matthew goes through some stories here. There's 5 stories. The first story is about these people who, I guess, living together, and during the pandemic, they had to spend a lot of time with each other. They started to pick up clues that the person they're living with is a different version of what they are. So, there's just, I'll put the link. You got to listen to it. Many of us have experienced this. I've experienced this, where the people around me, and that's the more unsettling thing with the Mandela Effect. It's one thing for the reality to change and change while you're looking at it, like the word of something. It's one thing for that. And it's another thing to think that the people that are surrounding you, the people you interact with, might be different versions of themselves in different types of mirrored realities. That's bizarre, but you got to listen to this link and hear their story. I've experienced that myself, where the people around me are not remembering conversations that we just had. I popped into a different world, and this is a different version of the people they are. It's mind-blowing. Just even think about that. It's mind-blowing. And I want to go back just for a second. While we're talking about things changing in reality, a lot of people had comments on that video that I just did about the yin and the yang and the yin and the yang. And this is the thing that I thought I would hear more discussion about, but really didn't get any discussion about. I understand a lot of people remember it as yin and yang their entire life. For them, this is not a Mandela effect. I get that. This to you, I'm just misremembering or just stupid. I know a lot of people hear me say that I was looking at this, and when I was looking at it the other day, just a couple days ago, this said Ying, Y-I-N-G, and it changed. Now, a lot of people hear that, and I'm sure that they don't fully believe it. I don't know. If it didn't happen to me, if I didn't experience this many times in the last 7 years, if I hadn't personally gone through this and you were telling me you experienced this, I don't know that I would fully believe you. I get that. It's crazy. But I saw this thing say yin and yang. I saw the video. I saw the guy talking about it. I heard him pronouncing it yang. So there was his pronunciation of it. It was the spelling of it. It was the closed caption, version of it. I saw that in multiple versions right before my eyes and right before my ears saying ying. There was zero doubt. And I put it to the watch later. This is my second next video because, I've got hundreds of these things I think I'm going to talk about in the next video. I threw it in there and I thought maybe I'll do a video. And 99.9% of the time, I don't even do a video on it. And this one was going down the list. It was not at the top. I had already plugged 4 or 5 other videos up there to discuss ahead of it. And it was fine in its way down the list. And it wasn't, the fact that this guy was saying ying, I thought was potentially good because he really knows his stuff. I mean, this guy's kind of an expert in it, so he would not be mispronouncing it. He would not be misspelling it. The mistake would not be there. And my point was, reality is not doing a very good job of covering its tracks. It's not doing a very good job of catching and sweeping up the residuals that exist. That was my point, really. That reality is reality is conscious, or at least there is entities that are conscious of what's going on and they don't want us to know. And this thing sat in my watch later list for however long, a week or two. I was thinking, I got plenty of time to kill here. This job is unbelievably mind-numbingly boring, and I'm pretty much alone at the time I get here. So I wanted to do a video about something. And I was thinking, let's circle back to this thing and talk about this yin yang. It was when I pulled it up. It was yet like the day that I uploaded this video a couple days ago, it was still yin yang with the G. I'm looking at it. I'm about to do the video. I'm about to hit record. And while I'm about to hit this little record button, this little orange dot that I hit, the thing changes to yin as I'm watching it. So there's not a whole lot of discussion about that. Like, how freaking mind-blowing. And the thing changed as I was thinking, this is going to be a good one because it's going to make reality have to defend itself. Like how does reality explain this one? This guy should know better. I was thinking that. And this has happened to me before when I found things that I was thinking, this is going to be a good one. This is going to be a hard one for reality to justify. I've seen this change like this before, which implies to me strongly that reality is conscious, it's aware, it's against me in this fight of truth, if you want to call it a fight of truth, and it can read my thoughts in real time. It's got access to everything going through my head. These are strong statements to make about the nature of reality and what the Mandela Effect is. And it also makes you wonder about the whole, somebody's walking in, the whole multiple versions of reality, or is it an edit? Is it an edit to this single reality? All right, I had to hit pause here for a second and have a conversation with a coworker who just got in. He's like the first person here because he likes to work out every day, and I'm like here an hour before anybody else, or an hour and a half before anybody else comes in. Why? Because traffic sucks, and I'm up at extremely early hours anyway. So usually I'm walking around doing inspections, but there wasn't as much to do this morning. But this to me is a pretty bold statement. The yin changed right before my eyes. Did it change in this current reality, this present reality, or did I get moved? Did my consciousness get moved against my will, I should say, because I didn't do it. It wasn't me. This was something else. Did I get moved to a version of reality where this has always been why I am? But there's still residual in other ways. But this specific one, which I was thinking was going to be a good one to make a case, this is the one that changed as I'm thinking about it. That is the point, I think, the strongest point that I wanted to make in that last video. I don't know if that came across really, because I'm, not always the best at making my point, but I wanted to circle back to that and talk about this mirrored reality. And I hope you get a chance to watch that old Star Trek episode, and also that link about the people, being different versions of other people, and who knows about NPCs and all that. It's let me say this, even though I get frustrated that reality fights me when I'm trying to expose it for what it is, I'm also super excited because I haven't seen anything strong like that for a long time. I mean, it's been years, and I like it when it happens because it's so mind-blowing, and it's like I'm getting a special glimpse at something that I really ought not to be able to see. There's implications about that as well. Why should anybody see this? And I know others out there have reported having the same experience where you are looking at something and it changes right in front of you. I'm not the only person to have experienced that, but I totally get if you've never experienced, to be somewhat skeptical that it really happened, to think that I'm delusional, maybe I'm insane. I know that I'm not insane. I'd be happy to take a lie detector test. I'd be happy to do the psych evaluation, even though I don't trust them bastards at all. I know that I'm sane. I know that I'm completely sane. I would have no problem. And I'm also smart enough not to discuss this stuff, with with the real world, with people I work with and things like that. I keep myself disguised to protect my family members because I know this is loony bin stuff. This is Looney Tunes loony bin stuff. This is crazy. Fortunately, though, I'm not the only one going through it. Others out there like you are experiencing these things, noticing these things. Gives a little bit more credibility to it, but it's still crazy to think about. And how does someone proclaim their sanity? But if you see me in the real world, if you see me operating in day-to-day life, I'm as normal as they come, working in corporate America, doing, getting paid more than I should for doing nothing. But it's essentially the world I'm in. Anyway, because I have the time on my hand and little else to do, I decided to upload again today and look forward to your comments. I'd like to hear some more comments about the meaning behind all of this, and that's another that's another one to discuss later. I've got plans for that one, but we'll see if we get to that video next. Anyway, hope you have a good day and God bless.